It's a tragic night for their families. It's a tragic night for the police family more generally, and certainly this should be really a sad night for all Victorians in our community as we're grieving the loss of 4 police officers, 2 senior constables and 2 constables that have been killed here tonight in the execution of their duties. What I'll do is just talk a bit about what I can say about what's happened here at the scene. And then if there's any questions, I'll endeavour to answer those. But you need to be aware it's still very early in understanding what's occurred, and we're still in many ways piecing that together. But I'll certainly try and give you as much information as I think I can at the moment. So in terms of what's occurred, our best understanding at the moment is that at about 5:40 p.m. tonight, 2 members of Victoria Police who are doing road policing duties have intercepted a Porsche, a 911 Porsche, which had been travelling at speed, excessive speed, on the inbound lanes of the Eastern Freeway. And that vehicle intercept has occurred, and those members have stopped that vehicle in the left stopping lane of the freeway. And as part of doing that, they have made inquiries with the occupant of the vehicle. As a result of those inquiries, they've taken a decision to impound the vehicle based on the inquiries they were making. They've requested support from 2 further highway patrol officers who have then attended the scene in support. And once those officers have arrived at the scene, they've not long been at the scene to assist with all 4 police officers out of their vehicles with this particular person in terms of making those inquiries and conducting that vehicle impound. A large truck, a refrigerated truck, has then driven into these 4 police officers. The truck's also made considerable contact with the Porsche. The driver of the Porsche, we don't believe was injured, but has taken it upon himself to flee the scene on foot. We're still making inquiries as to his identity and his whereabouts, and it's forming part of our initial investigation as to who this person is and where he is. But he has decided to flee the scene, so at the moment he's been unable to assist us with the initial inquiries here at the scene. The driver of the truck has, for medical reasons, been taken to hospital for medical tests. It's not believed he has suffered injury in the accident, but has had some sort of a medical episode at the scene and has been taken to hospital for medical treatment. We intend for him to be there under police guard for some time. When it's possible for him to be interviewed, he will be interviewed. And that will include, at the moment, taking blood samples as well to test for the presence of alcohol or drugs in his system. But again, it's very early and too early to say at this stage, and we don't know at this stage what has caused him to drive that truck into our police members. So we're still forming that up in terms of why that has occurred. Here at the scene, we've got the homicide squad with primacy of the investigation because of what has occurred. Truck driver is in custody at the hospital. Major collision investigation unit are here as well in terms of making sure that the road policing aspects of this are dealt with in relation to the crime scene work. There's a very specialised work that Major Collision do, and they're getting on with that here at the scene as well. We have got the coroner here at the scene who is, as I speak, doing a walkthrough of the scene, which is the normal course of action at these type of events. And also we've got Professional Standards Command out here as well, just making sure that from that side of things everything is squared away in terms of making sure that this is all done with a full oversight, given the large-scale tragedy that's happened here from a point of view of all of our the loss of police life here tonight. As I said, this is a real tragedy, and so tonight time will be spent obviously notifying loved ones of our 4 officers, notifying broader families, and also trying to take care of the welfare of all the work colleagues and the many close work colleagues of our 4 officers that have lost their life here tonight. So a very tragic night indeed that we're having to respond to. I believe this is the largest single loss of lives in terms of police lives lost in one incident in the history of Victoria Police. I'm not aware of another occasion when we've lost 4 Victoria Police members in one incident such as this. It's a very tragic night for Victoria Police, and again just highlights the dangers that go with doing police work, and the everyday nature of police work can sometimes seem mundane and then suddenly seem very tragic in terms of consequences. It's a timely reminder of the dangers of the work that police do every day, and our thoughts and prayers are with the families of our officers tonight, of those 4 officers that have lost their lives. We're planning on doing a more fulsome media conference tomorrow morning, where we'll hopefully have some more detail to share with you. As I say, it is early days here tonight at the scene, so it's very early stage of the investigation, so we really are just still piecing together exactly what's occurred here. I'm happy to deal with any questions at this point.
Can you define that medical episode?
No, I don't have the detail on it, but it was sufficient for him to require medical treatment immediately, so he's been conveyed to hospital for that purpose.
Did it happen before or after the accident?
That's what we don't know. In fact, we don't know what has, at this stage, caused this driver to drive this vehicle into our police members. We just don't know at this stage.
We saw that there was a car wedged underneath the truck. Can you confirm that's a police car, and also do we understand how that happened?
The vehicle that's under the truck is the Porsche.
And do we understand how the truck is driven into the Porsche?
Well, it's driven into the police officers and slammed into the vehicles as part of that collision.
Was the driver of the Porsche wanted for any other offences?
Again, we're making inquiries on that at the moment because we're still establishing his proper identity, and at the moment we're trying to find him, and certainly if he's watching this tonight, I'd strongly suggest he gets himself down to the nearest police station to present himself to assist with these inquiries.
Do we have any understanding of why he might have been pulled over by police to begin with?
Yeah, well, it's excessive speed on the freeway, and they were doing road policing duties, and as part of that have detected him travelling at speed, and it's caused them to pull him over.
But you've said that they then wanted to impound the vehicle. Was there subsequent offences maybe?
Well, I'm not going to speculate at the moment. We've really got to find that out. You can certainly impound a vehicle for excessive speed. That's not unusual. Yep.
And so where were the police officers believed to be standing? On the open road, or exactly where?
We don't have that. That's what the crime scene is now working on, making sure that we understand where everything occurred. So I'd only be speculating if I told you that at the moment.
And in terms of where these officers are from, do you have any idea what station they're from?
Well, we're still doing some family notifications, so I don't want to be too specific. Obviously, we know who the officers are, but we don't want to be too specific at the moment because we're still notifying some families, and some of those people may well be watching this. So we want to make sure we've got all those family notifications done first.
Normally when police die, there's a police funeral, and obviously at the moment with coronavirus restrictions, we can't have those sorts of funerals. Can you detail to us how you will mark these funerals, and also how tough it will be to not have those big-scale funerals?
Well, if we're still in restrictions, which it looks like we will be, we won't be able to have those large-scale remembrance ceremonies and funerals that would we traditionally have to honour our police officers. But in the light of day, we'll have to sit down and plan that out and make sure that something appropriate happens. And then we have some appropriate remembrance that takes place, and even if something happens in the short term, we could certainly do something more fulsome when we are able to do that.
Of the victims, 2 constables, how young were they? How long were they in the force?
I think one of the officers only very recently in the force, and the other officers were a little more seasoned in experience. One female officer, one female senior constable, and 3 other officers.
Is there any indication that the truck driver had any intent to?
Yeah, well, that's obviously the question that has to be answered as to what's occurred. It's one of the critical things here is to understand what's caused that truck to then plough into the officers in the vehicle. So this is obviously one of the major questions that we all want answers to, obviously, and to understand that it's a very important question that needs to be answered. And as soon as we can understand that, we'll certainly be sharing that with the community.
The 2 officers who were called by the original officers to stop the Porsche, were they in a separate? They arrived in a separate car?
They were 2 up in a separate vehicle. It's normal practice when you impound to get another vehicle in and as part of that impoundment process. So that's a very normal thing that they've done.
The car, the Porsche was on the side of the road?
Yeah, the stopping lane.
And the officers are believed to be on the side, so is it believed that therefore the truck has veered off the road?
I'd only be speculating at this stage if I was to try to describe that to you. I might have some more in the morning on that for you, but certainly we'll be looking to understand that obviously in significant detail.
And obviously, you've said it's the largest scale death of police officers, something you've never seen before. How are you feeling, and how do you think those families are feeling?
Oh, well, I'm, as the police commissioner, you're deeply saddened by the events of tonight. It's a tragic night. It's a tragic night for Victoria Police. So you're deeply saddened. All the officers down here, I can tell you there's an eerie quiet down there that sometimes you don't see at crime scenes. It's an eerie quiet because everyone down there is feeling it at the moment. Everyone down there understands what a tragedy this is for the families of those officers. But it's a tragedy for the whole force, and they're all feeling that deeply over at the crime scene, down at that crime scene at the moment.
For the sorts of distress that was here tonight, I mean, being down here, as you mentioned, it was incredibly eerie. What sorts of counselling will people receive? Yeah, well, at the moment we have quite a lot of resources these days now invested in that. So there's counselling that is going to be made available to everyone involved, particularly colleagues that worked with these officers. They'll certainly be getting that psychological welfare and welfare support, both with professional welfare officers and professional psychologists, but also from their peers as well through our peer support program.
Do we have any more details on the truck driver?
No, only that he is still in custody at hospital under medical treatment, and that's as much as I have on him at the moment.
No age or anything for him, or a description of the driver of the Porsche?
Yeah, that's what we're just piecing together. As soon as we get that, if we don't have him in custody, we'll be putting that out, obviously, because we want to get hold of him as soon as we can.
Do we believe he's from Melbourne, or the driver of the Porsche?
I don't know the answer to that at this stage.
Where's
to be
the car
specific with you.
registered to?
Sorry?
Is the car registered to Victoria?
Not at liberty at this stage to give you that information.
And what about the truck driver? Is it registered to Victoria? Where's he from?
I believe it's from a chicken poultry business, which is a commercial business here in Melbourne.
Last question. Homicide squad involved. Can you explain what the investigation includes?
Well, in these type of events, obviously we have to do an investigation as to criminality, and we've had 4 tragic deaths here tonight, and the officers, those officers concerned, have been the victim of a crime, and so the officers, the homicide squad, will have primacy of that. But these are very specialised investigations that occur in the road policing area, so Major Collision Investigation Squad are supporting that with their crime scene expertise. All right, thank you very much for coming out, and so it is a very tragic night, and certainly one that we'll do our best to provide answers on as soon as we can. Thank you.